Hello, everybody. Good morning, wherever you are. So this is Yousra Ferchichi from Tunisia hosting today Mr. Khassoum DIOP, my colleague from Senegal. How are you, Khassoum?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking, Yousra.
So I'm so glad to have you as my guest today. And this is KaiZen podcast. And this experience has been extended everywhere. And now I'm focusing much more on my friends and colleagues and neighboring countries. So the KaiZen podcast is a series of podcast episodes related not only to TESOL, but I'm focusing for this season on English language professionals related to teaching English as a foreign language, as a second language in all over the world. So the Kaizen podcast, I will just quickly explain what is the word Kaizen. It's a borrowing from a Japanese concept, which means Kai, change. Zen, just like Zen in the word in yoga, means something positive, something nice. So the Kaizen podcast is meant to bring more positivity, not only, let's say, in where I live, in my network, but also globally speaking. I'm extending this invitation to everybody around the world. And today it's a pleasure to have you, my colleague, Khassoum. So welcome, Khassoum, to the Kaizen podcast, Kaizen show.
Thank, thank you ever so much, Yousra. And once again, thank you for reaching out to me. I am very, very grateful for this invitation. And I also very excited to share my experience with your audience around the world. And I would also like to say thank you very much to my colleagues from Senegal, in particular, Gilma Samba Sheikh, who woke up very early in the morning in order not to miss any second of this wonderful adventure with the Kaizen podcasts and with this wonderful Yousra Ferchichi. So thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity. And also, I'm inviting all other colleagues around the world to be just ready for their turn in this wonderful adventure in CPD. Thank you very much once again, Yusuf.
Thank you so much. And I'm really sorry that I picked out a time that might be a little bit early in Senegal. Now it's 10 a.m. in Tunisia. What time is it in Senegal now?
It's 9:10.
All right. Okay. It seems to be not too early, Khassoum. For
Yeah,
6 a.m.ers but for Sunday, yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's a Sunday morning and people must be having a good rest. Hopefully, they will join as soon as they
Oh yeah, I hope so. If not, this won't be the last time. Like definitely, this is going to be just the start for what I'm launching soon enough. I am launching that a chapter only for African leaders in education. And it's going to be related to Africans talk, all of us, North Africa, like Africa overall, not only North Africa, from Senegal, from Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, from all over the continent. Everybody is welcome to join us in what I'm going to talk. Maybe Africa Speaks, but we'll maybe look for another name. We'll vote. So starting from the community that I'm starting to build now. So we're going to vote for the best name that represents us as Africans. So everybody's welcome. And let's start, Khassoum, by asking you some questions related to first, what made you initially love the English language, Khassoum? It's like, what is the first moment like you felt that I like this language? Because we're bilingual, both of us. We speak French and you speak your native language, your mother tongue. But what made you choose English?
Thank you so much, Yusra, for this thought-provoking question because it drove me back in a long time in the past in my childhood memories. I can remember the very first day I heard a word of English. It was a long, long time ago. I was in primary school. There used to be a friend of my sister who was a Ghanaian. So when he came to visit us, He stood at the door and he said, Har is the name of my sister. So he said, Har, naka Davy. So how is the day? So when I listened to that Har, naka Davy, I say, wow, what is he going to talk about? What is he talking about? What is this kind of language? So, when I go to the junior school, the very first word I heard was fine, thanks. I say, fine, thanks. This is really, really good word. This really wonderful word here. And I started getting interested in that until the very first day I met a very wonderful English teacher, an English teacher that was second to none. He inspired me a lot. And that is the moment I take to pay tribute to every single teacher who inspired in this way or that way to their students until they become exactly a teacher or more than that. And that very teacher used to be called Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall was the kind of English teacher, whenever he started talking, you would never want to stop. So I was inspired by this teacher of English and I started learning English. I started loving this language until the very day, I got my baccalaureate and I decided to major in English. And one after my master, I go to the training college of teachers and then now I'm here as a teacher.
Oh, great. It's a nice story and amazing. And I'm sure our guests today that are present here with us, they have a wonderful story as well. So we'll be glad to listen into their story, like at the second part of the podcast. Of the first part, good morning, everybody. So the first part will be devoted to listening to Khassoum's story, and I'll be glad to extend in the mic to whoever wants to share his or her story together today with us in the KaiZen podcast. So welcome, everybody. So Khassoum, the next question is related to, so since you talked about you majoring in English and then learning English, like, do you see like it's a difficult, let's say, skill to develop for a bilingual person? So I'm extending the same question because, most of us, we had approximately our learning system in French. I don't know if it's the case in Senegal. So in Tunisia, for example, we do have everything taught at primary school, secondary school. Now we have a change. I can talk about Tunisia 2.0. But initially, everything is taught in French. So do you think it's easy to transition from, let's say, French as a second language towards English as a second language? Was it easy for you to navigate? And for your students, do you think it's like easy for your students to learn English as a foreign language?
I personally think it was a very bit challenging at the very beginning because, as I said, we started learning English only at junior school, first year junior school. So it was not that so easy due to the fact that we not only have French as foreign language, but also there are other many local languages we have to try to learn and adapt. Now, maybe what made us, feel a bit comfortable was that, as I said, the teacher inspired a lot to the point that we were very ready to invest a lot in terms of efforts, in terms of strategies, in order to adapt within that kind of context of learning another foreign language. Now, in today's context, what makes it be more challenging is there are so many other foreign languages competing with English. And our students right now are taking the pathway that have the least resistance. And it is noticeable that those resistance we might find less in other foreign languages than in English. To the point that it is more challenging for them now to learn English than it was in our context and period. So as you said it right back, the students 2.0, they face more challenge in learning English than we did in the past. Because in the past, other foreign languages was not that so valuable, that so important. At the very beginning, we were only focused on English because English had a very good reputation. But now, since English is developing, is higher at the top leader position, the students prefer to take up to those languages that are easier to learn and to master. That's why I believe that today's learning English is a bit more difficult than in our context. However, it is always possible for us in this context to learn and master good English and speak it fluently.
Oh, thank you very much for your answer. It's convincing, very convincing. Like uh, whoever has or wants to learn English as a foreign language has necessarily to go through the second language, be it French or I think we have different dialects in Senegal as well as in Tunisia. So that variety gives us a choice, but at the same time, most of us have chosen this. It's like we have chosen we have chosen to speak English, whether based on our studies, whether based on our preference. Sometimes it's a teacher who makes us love the English language. Other times it's the chorus, and other times it's simply a song. You know, I remember how I loved the English language. I loved it from Michael Jackson songs.
Oh,
And
yes.
I remember myself, you know, when I was at primary school, we used to have a magazine, you know, that everybody gets, in which we can find the lyrics to the songs. Is Star Club. I don't know if everybody remembers Star Club. It's like you find the song and plus the lyrics. So I used to memorize those songs, and then I started to love English. And then Michael Jackson came to Tunisia, so I attended the concert. And after this, I started loving more and more the language. So it depends. Everyone has his own path, and most importantly, what reunites all of us is our love for the language. All right, so the third question is related, Khassoum, to the way you see improvement in life. So we talked about Kaizen at the beginning. We explained that's a theory of improvement. Do you believe that improvement comes overnight? Just you wake up one day and you just decide to go and work out and you say, this is it. Today I'm just going to conquer the world. Or you set a goal and then you set kind of achievable mini goals. For example, you want to write a PhD dissertation, let's say. And then you say, today I'm just going to start by doing my research and then write my literary review and then maybe contact a supervisor. Other times I start reading those books. And then until you finish the whole process. That's as an example. So my question for you is that how do you perceive improvement in your context and in your mindset, let's say?
Thank you very much again with this very, interesting questions. I do believe that improvement is a process. It's a long process that involves, to go through different stages from the initial one to the last one. And I often believe that the longest journey starts with the first step. So we have to go for the first step, then we go to the next one until we reach the final destination. And the first step is not often the best one or the good one. It might be the most challenging one, but never mind. Whenever you fall down, you you stand up again and you continue to work. You fall down again and then you stand up again and then you go until you reach your destination. That is to say, um, improvement is the continuous process of change that occurs through our lives. And improvement also transcends times, situation, context. So nothing with us remains static. Everything is in a state of evolution. So as educators, I recognize that I must persistently activate, consolidate, innovate, enhance my teaching techniques, methods, approaches, resources, and objectives. Because why? The context I teach isn't the same every year. the students I teach is not the same every year. And also, the characteristic of my students are the same every year. Consequently, it is crucial for teachers to commit themselves to their own ongoing development. And I remember Thomas Crowell, who is a British Council consultant, and he used to say, the day you realize that life as a teacher begins the day you realize that you are always a learner. It means what? It means what? Whenever you start doing something, you need to pursue, the ideal of attaining the best of yourself and never stop doing it, even though you fail for once. You should or you have to continue to go again, to fall down, you stand up again until you reach your destination. So, to finish, I believe that improvement does not come over time, but little by little, and practice makes perfect until you reach your final destination.
Exactly. And now to back up to what you said, Khassoum, I can see in the chat one of our guests. So let me see. It's Mr. Jibril. Correct me if I'm wrong. So improvement is a process. So he says that Rome was not built in a day. And we can't expect from a very newborn baby to start running in first minute. So
Definitely.
definitely we agree in this, and a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, just like a baby steps. So thank you so much for your contribution. And I really admire like the mindset that you have. And to elaborate on what you said, Khassoum, my question for you is that do you believe the teacher should be an eternal learner, like you said? So the learning process of teachers, like, do you see it as ongoing? Or no, I got my degrees, I graduated, that's it. I'm just going to teach whatever I learned, and I'm not going to evolve, just like the word is evolving. So how do you see this?
Well, I think that a teacher, as I said a while back, is an eternal learner. I have it in my own words. I call it adventures. I am in perpetual adventures. Adventures in continuing personal development. If you oftentimes visit my Facebook post, you can see another adventure in CPD with. And this one is another adventure in CPD with Yousra Ferchichi in this KaiZen episode. So I am consistently, into adventures in order to say we have not to stop learning. On the contrary, we have to continue to learn on a daily basis. And as Jibril say, whoever stopped learning have to stop teaching. Whoever stopped learning have to stop teaching. So I definitely concur with you. I definitely agree with you and Jibril also saying that we must be continuously learning, learn to discover new things, but also learn to consolidate what we already know. Learn also try to adapt those things we find somewhere into our own context in order to meet the interests of our students who are perpetually changing into another students, another context, another area. So definitely a teacher is an eternal learner. And thank you, Jibril, by saying this. Whoever stops learning has to stop teaching.
Teach it. Exactly. Now, the next question is to everybody, not only to you, Khassoum, is when was the last idea or concept you learned from a student of yours? So since we're talking about teaching being an everlasting and lifelong learning, now the question is, did you learn any skill, any idea, any concept from a student of yours? I'm going to tell you about my experience. So I used to teach middle schoolers in 2021. So there is a period of time, like I took a break from being a faculty at university. So, and I did my CELTA. So following the CELTA certification, so I went on a new venture, which is teaching young learners, let's say middle schoolers, teenage learners. And then I was let's say I had the idea of using mobile phones in class. And the project was called film-based learning using mobile phones. And I taught it with a school belonging to the French system in Tunisia. It's called René Descartes in Tunis. And it's a private school in Tunisia. So the project was devoted to having a cross-curricular activity, not only with the English language subject, but I did collaborate with other colleagues as well. So what I learned from my students quickly, just to keep it short so that you have enough time to interact with this idea, I learned from my students how to use CapCut, which is a mobile app, to edit a whole movie. So we did record a short movie. They have written their own script and they acted the movie. And maybe I will tell you the story of this movie later on, but I'm interested in knowing what is the skill the last skill, let's say, you learned from your students, or maybe an idea, a word, anything you learned from a student.
Well, again, another, interesting questions. Uh, all right, so I remember when some years back, I had some students in fifth grade junior school. I used to feel very confident and very comfortable when I'm standing in front of students. So I was talking, explaining a word, and I think it was a word, something like that. So I keep saying with confidence that what I was saying was the right thing. But there was students somewhere in the corner looking at me silently without saying anything. All the class was like moving, but she was just so silent. And maybe she was finding the right moment to say her mind. All in a sudden, she raised her hand. She said, "Sir, the way you are saying this word, the correct one." I say, "How?" She said, "No, no, no. This word should be pronounced this one, or it should be written this way." I say, "Really?" He said, "Yes, because my teacher last year told me about that." I say, "Well, let me double check. So let me please go home and see exactly if I am doing the thing correctly or not." So the following morning, I came with relief because I was that grateful to that students who helped me stop making a big mistake in whole of my career. And what I realized was that she was right. The way I was pronouncing the word wasn't the correct one. I'm sorry I forgot the words, but I cannot forget that experience. So I had to correct myself and say to the whole class, this student was right. I was not saying the way I was supposed to. And I said to them from that moment, never ever believe in whatever I said. So if I am saying something and you might having some trouble to understand it, stop me and ask again the questions. In another way, what I realized was that all our students were not empty vessels. There were some who know quite well what we were teaching. There were some who know far better of what we were teaching. And also there are some who don't know anything. And that's where the problem is. We all believe and consider that all our students know anything, and we have here to fool those vessels, which is not always the case. Another experience was that since I am teaching in a different context, in a different ethnic group context, we have our own way of describing our relatives in a family, right? So there was, in my context, the brother of your father is called father. Mm-hmm. But in their own context, it's something definitely the opposite. Okay. So when I was trying to explain them using their own native language, I had serious problems. So when I say this, they say, no, 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 so it's not this in here. So I was kind of puzzled that to say that, why I am teaching like in a different context, like I am in Senegal, this Senegal where I come from, and this Senegal where I'm teaching. And this is that it is from that very moment I try now to contextualize. If I am teaching something in relation to their own culture, I have to go first to ask people from the community, how in your culture would you do this and would you do that? So as to fit into the context, cultural context of my students in order not to confuse them and to bring troubles into their minds. So just to put it roughly speaking, as teacher, I say we should pay attention to whom we are talking when we are in classroom. Not all our students are empty vessels, but not all our students will believe our word like a, a gospel truth. Sometimes they question, sometimes they reflect, and sometimes even though they don't have the right way to tell, so you are saying nonsense, they will behave in a way that if you pay attention, you will realize that you are going astray. You have to stop and come back and correct everything.
Exactly. I definitely agree with you, especially on the point that our students, they're not empty vessels. So now I'm going to ask the same question to our guests. So whoever wants to share his or her experience, please enable your microphone and share with us quickly in a minute a classroom practice or maybe something you learned from a student of yours, be it just like Khassoum said, the way we should pronounce a word, or maybe if a teacher, for example, it has a misconception about something and then the student helps readjust that conception again. So who volunteers to share his or her ideas with us? I can see like we're having a great number of colleagues attending with us today. So welcome everyone. So I introduced myself for those who join us a little bit late. I'm Yousra Ferchichi, and I'm an English language professional, active since 2009, and I'm from Tunisia. So welcome, everybody. So I can see in the chat some ideas. Students are far from being empty vessels, exactly, from Jibril. Teaching is given and receiving, exactly. So it's, let's say, it goes in both ways. So it's interchangeable, let's say. We learn from them as well as they learn from us. And especially nowadays with the advance that we see with AI and so definitely we are no longer the source of information. All right, so the next question, Khassoum, is related to Khassoum and peers and colleagues and your community, Khassoum. So how far is Khassoum contributing to his community? Like, what is the added value that you think you leave as positive impact to your community? Be it your colleagues, be it, I know that you are volunteer in teacher associations. So what's the added value? What is, let's say, the set of skills? What are the set of skills that Khassoum brings forth into any place he joins?
So, Yousra, this is definitely tricky questions. you know, that's like very, very challenging to answer this question because I have never tried to assess the impact I have or the influence I have on my teachers, on my collaborators,
Do
on
you
my
want
colleagues.
me to clarify a little bit? It's like
Yeah.
impact, like did you help a colleague learn a skill? Did you help a colleague navigate through a challenging moment? So I see it in that way, like mentorship, not necessarily a top-down process, you see. Like going hand in hand with a colleague and without giving names, without citing, without naming anyone, just Khassoum, or maybe the opposite, like were you offered some help from someone that helped you navigate a difficult moment, a challenging moment, let's say, in life?
At this time of the moment, we are receiving newly teachers posted in our areas, for instance. So, what I can give as a support and guidance, for example, I just created a WhatsApp group to invite those teachers who are now in their hometown, getting ready to travel up to Mata. So I am sharing there some information that might help them better prepare to travel and come to Mata. Now, once in my area, I will try also to see how I can be very helpful. Another thing I do also is I like co-presenting. I like co-presenting. If I think that I am moving on a topic and I see a teacher
Same.
is very,
Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you, but same. Yes.
yeah. So I sometimes offer, and invite teachers. How about co-presenting on this or that? And I like to do it so many times. Another thing also I do is I like sharing. Whenever I go to a conference, once back, I organize something I call takeaways. For example, I organized two takeaways conference. The very first one was I attended a Teachers Virtual Conference, and the following week I decided to share my takeaways from that conference. And the second one was at Africa Elsa Angola Conference. I organized another takeaway. So I like sharing what I have, and not only not yeah, I will invite you, Leticia. Don't worry too much. And another thing is, even before I present, sometimes if I have one idea, I like to share it with somebody else in order to receive feedback to help me improve. And at my every initial work, I need to share with someone. So I don't like to work in isolation. If we are in a group of teachers, if I have an idea, I pick it and I put it in the box and say, people, what do you think about this? So their contribution will help me fine tune my idea until I got the very best one. Um, Maybe one thing I might say is I like giving some mentoring and also co-presenting, and definitely I think that this might help to those teachers. And maybe there are some teachers, if you ask them the questions, they might say they might know exactly, how I was a little bit supportive or not. Now, how about the other way around? Will I guide it? Will I advise in order to move forward? Yes, definitely. I have got so many coaches and mentors. I have got so many of them in Senegal and out of Senegal. There are some people who inspire me a lot. So whenever I have an idea, I go quickly and knock at their door and bring the question on the table, and they give me their feedback, and I try to improve myself. That's how they impact positively in my teaching and also in my continuous personal development. I'm not sure whether I answered your question as well.
You did actually, and more than this, we can see Jabril's comment in the chat. He says that Khassoum is a very generous teacher and colleague, and I agree with you, Jabril. He is definitely. And thank you, Khassoum, for being here, for sharing your insights. I would like to elaborate quickly before ending up our podcast. So the last question is on the importance of WhatsApp groups in teacher development. So you mentioned WhatsApp, and I've seen you very active on WhatsApp. So we're creating, by the way, a group to the KaiZen podcast, the African chapter. That's what I'm calling it, Africa Speaks. So I'm going to share the link with the attendees today by email afterwards. So the guest list will receive a link to our new WhatsApp group. And the question for you, Khassoum, is what's the importance of these WhatsApp groups in teacher development in Africa?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this question because WhatsApp is something I like very much. We are in an area where internet is a luxury and it's not accessible to everyone everywhere. And technology is growing so fast, and we have to integrate it into our teaching and learning into our everyday life. And WhatsApp appears to be a very low tech tool that we can use and integrate. It doesn't require any skill to navigate WhatsApp. And also, it offers a wide range of opportunities and facilities we can use to teach. We can use also for our personal development. And why WhatsApp? I am a member of something like 15 WhatsApp group or more, and 88 of those WhatsApp groups are from international. So on a daily basis, I interact with thousands of teachers all around the world from different contexts, and for which I have instant feedback. That is what is very important. When I put something instantly, I get a feedback from teachers that are in different contexts and far from where I am. And also, from our Senegalese context. And it offers a lot of interactive interactions, lot of sharing of resources, and also a lot of discussion that improve our teaching practice and also that give us a lot of experience. So WhatsApp is definitely the right tool for people like us in a very remote and where internet is not that so accessible. I know we are rushing against time, so we
I
have to
know.
wrap up as you said. So I would like just to say how much I am grateful to you for this opportunity.
Thank you so
And
much.
I think also those teachers who woke up early in the morning, despite
Yeah,
this
thanks so
Sunday
much.
morning, to attend and interact with us in the chat box. So thank you again,
Thank you.
Yousra, for this opportunity. And I wish you successful other sessions and editions with, in particular, teachers from Africa and teachers from Senegal. For my final words, I would like to say how much I thank you for this opportunity, and I wish her all successful upcoming sessions, in particular with African English teachers. West and Central Africa, I can see very resourceful teachers whose amazing experience might be useful for younger teachers and even senior teachers. As we said during our podcast, we are eternal learners. We can learn from everybody, anywhere, anytime, any experience. So I believe that those teachers could be of very resourceful to inspire others. So thank you again, and I was very pleased and honored to have been your guest.
Thank you so much. All the pleasure is mine. And actually, this is an open invitation to West and East Africa, North Africa. All Africa is included into this initiative that I'm starting and I'm launching, starting from this KaiZen podcast. So I'm going to call it the Africa chapter, and we're free to choose together. So once will be many, like we'll be voting for the best title maybe for us to announce. But now I don't want to label it. I'm just keeping it as a voice to all of us, and everyone is welcome, not necessarily in Africa, but Africa and friends, and whoever likes Africa, and whoever wants to listen to Africa. So everybody is welcome to join us in this initiative. For now, we're starting it just as a podcast, and who knows how it can evolve after this. So thank you so much, my dear colleague. It was a great pleasure talking to you. Please keep on shining and keep on really inspiring everyone in your community and overseas. So thank you, Khassoum. Do you want to add any comment before we wrap up the KaiZen podcast?
Oh, definitely, yes. I have realized that joining the Kaizen podcast was another really interesting, amazing, inspiring adventures. I am receiving some feedback from teachers who were there with us. They really appreciate, the session, and also felt a bit sorry because the time frame was not that so long. They were expecting to have, a longer one, exchange a bit more. But anyway, it is a very, very interesting, amazing experience with the Kaizen podcast. Thank you again, Yousra.
Pour te dire la vérité, ce n'est pas la dernière chance. Donc là, I'm switching to French a little bit because both of us are bilingual. So that was my surprise for you, Khassoum. And ce sera certainement pas la dernière fois qu'on va parler ensemble, qu'on va communiquer ensemble. Donc c'est rien que disons le début d'une aventure ensemble. Et cette aventure, c'est une invitation pour tout le monde à nous joindre pour le Kaizen Podcast. And good morning, Mr. Jibril. So everybody is welcome. Donc, Khassoum, tu es toujours le bienvenu. Et j'ai une question pour toi en français. Peut-être ça sera intéressant pour les personnes qui vous suivent sur Internet, donc d'entendre Khassoum parler en français. Peut-être c'est une image, c'est une façade qu'ils ne connaissent pas. Donc, ça sera une opportunité voilà, de faire un échange un tout petit peu en français. Ma question est, ça a un rapport avec Khassoum et disons, la recherche scientifique. Donc, Khassoum, est-ce que, voilà, c'est une question qui est, it's like a cold shower in the morning. Donc, la recherche, est-ce que Khassoum est intéressé peut-être par publier des articles en français, euh, bien qu'en anglais? Donc, est-ce que, disons, la recherche scientifique est quelque chose qui inspire Khassoum à ce niveau-là, ou bien, like we say, in the future, like in 5 years from now, donc peut-être, disons, dans 3, 4 ans, 5 ans, peut-être à partir de ce moment-là, est-ce qu'on va voir Khassoum présenter en français, écrire en français, pourquoi pas, pour parler du principe du multilingualism. Donc, disons, in French, how do we call this multilingualism? I lost my French in here. Donc, disons, avoir disons, la possibilité de parler avec plusieurs langues, disons, en français, en anglais. Et c'est quoi le dialecte au Sénégal, Khassoum? Par exemple, en Tunisie, on l'appelle, il y a le dialecte tunisien, il y a le Shilha, il y a l'Imaziren, et il y a l'arabe en Tunisie. Au Sénégal, y a-t-il cette variété de dialectes ou pas? Il n'y en a
Oui,
pas?
je pense que il y en a, sauf si je me trompe, ce sont les langues locales. Par exemple, moi, je parle Wolof, quelqu'un parle de Tukulër, l'autre parle Diola, l'autre parle Serer. Ce sont des langues locales parmi tant d'autres langues au Sénégal. Et encore, c'est un plaisir énorme pour moi de m'exprimer en français. Et comme vous le constatez, je me débrouille très bien en français, parfois même mieux qu'en anglais. Alors, votre question surprise, c'en
C'est
est une.
c'est la recherche scientifique, peu importe la langue, disons la recherche scientifique, disons en anglais ou bien en français. Est-ce que Khassoum est intéressé voilà, de publier, disons un article ou bien un blog, un contenu en français? Donc, pour parler de l'apprentissage de la langue anglaise, hein. C'est pas forcément de parler de quelque chose qui est vraiment lié à la vie sociale ou bien la vie professionnelle, mais c'est par rapport à Khassoum et comment il approche la langue anglaise, disons.
Pour vous dire vrai, je suis en quelque sorte un chroniqueur en français. J'écris des articles comme je le sens. Je publie beaucoup en français. J'écris beaucoup également en anglais. Et c'est que je ne voudrais pas trop m'apesantir sur la publication des articles, à quel point laisser un peu le professionnel développement de côté. Mais je suis en réalité un chroniqueur en cachette. J'écris très bien en français. Je publie beaucoup en français. Dans les journaux locaux, je publie souvent. Et je serai également très heureux de partager quelques articles que j'ai publiés en français, mais également et surtout la recherche scientifique. Je suis tombé amoureux de ça récemment.
Ah,
Lors de mon voyage en Angola, quand j'ai fini ma présentation sur WhatsApp, le rapporteur m'a demandé est-ce que ce que vous présentez là, c'est tellement intéressant que je me demande est-ce que vous avez des données empiriques pour justifier ça. Et je lui ai dit malheureusement, je n'ai pas de données. Il me dit alors, votre nouveau défi, c'est la recherche. Il
oui.
faut chercher, il faut trouver des data, il faut analyser, il faut prouver scientifiquement ce que vous dites là. Et d'ailleurs, je suis actuellement en train de faire des recherches sur le sujet que j'ai présenté. Je me suis déjà lancé et j'espère bientôt pouvoir publier mes articles. Il y a déjà un même qui me demandait est-ce que tu as changé, où est-ce que tu vas publier tes articles. Je dis pour l'instant, je n'ai pas encore changé à publier, mais je me mets à l'écrire d'abord, à faire des recherches d'abord. Et une fois que je l'ai terminé, je trouverai un endroit pour publier mes articles. Et en fait, j'espère aussi que mon roman en anglais paraîtra un jour. Bon, je suis un peu là-dessus et j'ose espérer qu'un jour, ça finira par être publié, Inch'Allah.
Il y a une surprise. Bah, j'ai pas annoncé au début de notre conversation, mais la surprise, c'est que en Tunisie, on va, disons, il y aura un événement qui va se passer au mois de juin, et ça concerne la recherche scientifique, et c'est ouvert à tous les professionnels. Donc, you're welcome to submit your proposal. I will share with you the link to the conference. And if ever you're interested in submitting, it's going to be in English, not in French. If ever you are interested in submitting your proposal, or maybe one of your colleagues, you're free to submit your proposal to this one. And it's going to be a huge event hosting everybody, globally speaking, and it's going to be in Tunisia. So you're welcome to attend, and you can publish your article starting from that conference. So it's going to be an amazing meetup for everybody and Tunisia will be very glad to host all of you. So so I will send you the link. I will send you the let's say the information related to this conference, and my best wishes for you and for whoever wants to submit. And Africa ELTA, by the way, we forgot to talk about Africa ELTA because like it's an association that is dear to my heart, and I'm doing my best to submit my proposal. It's like every time I start, then I postpone it, then I hope that I'll be able to finish and submit, and maybe see you soon in one of Africa ELTA's inshallah conferences, upcoming ones. And so if I'd like to hear from our guests who are attending with us, if you want to add any comment, any idea you want to share, because like I don't want to wrap up with without hearing one of you speaking to us. So yes, please enable your microphone and share with us your ideas. Yes, please. You should be brave enough to do it. Okay, so I really respect the fact that you attended with us, and it's early in the morning, so I understand maybe your brain is still kind of processing information, but thank you so much. So as I said, before wrapping up, I'll be sharing a WhatsApp group link with the guest list that attended with us. And also for those who didn't manage to attend with us, this is an open invitation to the KaiZen podcast Africa chapter, so which is going to be devoted to African leaders in education in Africa. So thank you everyone for taking part in this KaiZen podcast with our dear colleague Khassoum DIOP. This is definitely not the last time we're going to talk together. Inshallah, talk to you soon. And bye-bye everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, and thank you for this time, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.